What's going on, everybody, and welcome into the Sactown Sports Kings recap. My name is Chris Watkins, joining you after the Sacramento Kings win on the road in Charlotte. Yes, on the second night of a back-to-back, believe it or not, the Kings do get the win tonight by a score of 123-98, again, in Charlotte. You have the Kings' four main contributors from yesterday continue their good performance and give you a good effort tonight as well. Domantas Sabonis, 24 points. Keegan Murray, a game-high 25. De'Aaron Fox with 19, and Malik Monk with 20. What a weird start to this game it was. Kevin Huerter, who was reinserted into the starting lineup just last game, left this game in about 20 seconds after the tip-off. You didn't see it if you watched it on the NBC Sports California broadcast. It didn't show it. It showed the jump ball. It showed Kevin Huerter go off screen, and then the next time you see him, he's limping. But I guess on the Charlotte broadcast, and then NBC eventually did post an alternate angle on their Twitter page of Kevin Huerter twisting his ankle on Keegan Murray's foot. I'm sorry, which led to Kevin Huerter hobbling off. He went straight to the locker room. Didn't stop at the bench. Didn't have any conversations. Just went straight back there, and you assume it's pretty bad. They ruled him out pretty quickly. I'm glad it's an ankle injury. I was saying on Alan, my co-host Alan Stiles' Beam Spaces during halftime. I thought it was his Achilles for a second, just because of how quick it was, and it seemed like it was non-contact. And with it happening so quick, I mean, there weren't many options. So in a weird way, I'm kind of glad to see that it's just his ankle, and definitely hoping the best for Kevin Huerter because even though he hasn't been playing well, he's definitely somebody who can team when it comes to shooting the basketball, because we see, again, on a night like tonight when the shots are falling, this team looks really good, and that's definitely is their shooting. Like, everything just kind of falls into shots, and so there's not many worries out there when the shots are falling. It would be interesting to see what would happen if the shots weren't falling, to see, would they continue to attack the paint like they did yesterday. Spoiler alert, they did attack the paint really well tonight. Or would they lock it up on the defensive end, which, I think the first half was a bit of a struggle. You look at Terry Rozier kind of got to where he wanted to get in that first half. Miles Bridges, who's just it's so unfortunate that he's still in the NBA and you still have to talk about him, but he was really good in that first half, hit some tough shots, hit a crazy fall away. It was a fall away three, yeah, as the buzzer was going off. But the Kings did a much better job in the second half, playing better defense. I think Rozier had 4 or 5 points in the second half. Just a really good effort, and glad that they took care of business. Not much of today was scary. The Hornets never really went on any major runs. They did have a lead at the very start of the game, but after that, the Kings took the lead and never really looked back. So really good to kind of look at this little back-to-back as a business trip. Two worst teams in the NBA in Detroit and Charlotte. So glad that the Kings ended up getting 2 victories out of those 2 games. And also really good that on the second night of a back-to-back, you only have Domantas Sabonis playing 28 minutes. You have De'Aaron Fox playing 28 minutes. Malik Monk played 30. Even Keegan was their high minute getter at 32. That's pretty light. So as the Kings have a tough opponent in the Philadelphia 76ers on Friday, that'll be on ESPN on national TV. That's it's good that the Kings at least won't have the tired excuse or anything like that. They should be very well rested for that Sixers game on Friday. Looking forward to that one, and at the same time, really scared for that one too, just because the Sixers have had our number. Really love to see, just in general. Again, I mentioned it there, but the Kings attacking the rim and attacking the paint. Too many times this year have they just live and died by the three. I looked it up. Today they finished with 35 threes. That's the 6th time this year that they've had 34 or 35 or less threes. So typically they're putting them up. They're putting up usually at least 40. So it's good to kind of see this team condense themselves a bit because the perimeter shooting was getting a little bit much. I mean, they were just solely trying to shoot themselves out of slumps, and that's not how you do it. You're gonna have to always work from the inside out. It's there's just some core principles in sports where you can't cheat it, you can't avoid it. In football, you can be Patrick Mahomes, but you still have to establish some sort of run game. In baseball, home runs are great, but you got to get people on base and you got to get them moved around the bases. In basketball, you can't just chuck up threes or chuck up jump shots. You have to drive. You have to set up the paint. You have to establish the paint as a place in which you're a threat. And then everything else, once you establish that and you get a defense to focus on collapsing into the paint, everything else opens up. The perimeter jumpers open up. You can take mid-range jump shots. Everything opens up. So good to see the Kings kind of refocusing and getting 60, I believe, 62 points in the paint tonight after a season high 82 points in the paint after last night. Interesting. Airborne Musician says G-Man sounded a little busted up on the broadcast tonight. That is maybe I'm guessing G-Man's just sick. He did the last game of the road trip actually, or of the homestand. I mean, the other day he had I think what did he call it? He called it his FM voice on. He had his smooth jazz voice. So yeah, I think G-Man's going through a little horsing with his voice. And if you have an opportunity, definitely check him out. I think he seems healthy and all that, like seems fine. He's traveling, and like I said, he was at the game. I think it's just his voice is messed up a little bit right now. So if you have a chance, definitely check out the radio broadcast to hear a different side of G-Man, which you don't know. G-Man's had that job for what, 30 years now or something like that, and he's of course, he's evolved as time has gone on. But this is a very rare G-Man. Usually, you don't get to hear the sultry sound of G-Man like this. So definitely go check it out. And I am pretty sure G-Man's okay. He seemed in really good spirits. Didn't seem like he was sick or anything. Just kind of, like I said, seemed like his voice was a little bit shot. And also, I mean, the travel, Draper and Katie mentioned it at the end of the broadcast, pretty brutal for the Kings. They went 4 cities in 4 nights. On Monday, they were in Sac. On Tuesday, they were in Detroit. Today, they were in Charlotte. And they're going to fly out tomorrow to Philadelphia. 4 cities in 4 nights. That's not going to do anybody really well. So hopefully the Kings can overcome that, because, they always talk about, just how tough it is to live that NBA lifestyle, just in terms of travel and being in, not knowing what city you're in, not knowing what hotel you're staying in. And then when you have games mixed up on top of that, you can barely get game plans locked in. And it just kind of feels like everything's flying by at a million miles per hour as you're kind of getting into the meat of the season. Like, we're almost exactly halfway through the season as the Kings now have played, they're 23 and 37 games. So they're 5 away from being halfway through this year. Bad math, 4 away from being halfway through this year. Yeah, I mean, this is when things get tough. This is when people kind of start to separate themselves, and it's good that the Kings are kind of playing from starting to, I can say, let's not forget how 24 hours ago, okay? But it does feel like the Kings are getting results and starting to kind of play better. It does seem like, after the comeback of yesterday and taking care of business today, and we'll see how this stretch of Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Phoenix goes to end the road trip. But it does feel like, this team, the floor isn't falling out. These guys are still going to remain good as the trade deadline is approaching, I should say, and guys get thrown into trade rumors and speculation. It's tough. There's a lot of off the floor stuff that I imagine creeps into on the floor. If you're Harrison Barnes, if you're Kevin Herter, and you hear all day from friends and old whatever, I don't know, old high school friends, your family maybe even possibly sending you, hey, I'm hearing that you're in trade rumors. Is that true? That stuff can mess with you and like can just distract you from what you really do. So right now is a really difficult time for all NBA guys, but especially it feels like these Kings. Kings are involved in just about every trade rumor there is. So it definitely feels like something. Eric, I was definitely not about to go to the arena. Yeah, they locked that stuff down. But maybe one day we can get like like a remote post game show or something like that. I know Matt George did a live watch party for his podcast. Um, it shouldn't be long audio. I'm trying to I feel like I fixed my audio issues finally. Can't tell me that I'm having wonky audio now. I hope it's not. I hope it's just you, Jess. Because yeah, I was hoping that my mic audio would be a problem today. Because as you can see, I went hand what is not handheld, what I call wireless. So hoping the audio is at least coming through for a lot of people. I can try and project and speak more towards the webcam if that helps. But yeah, today for the most part was what sound like I'm through a tunnel. I don't like that at all. So we are going to try and fix that. It might be cancellation, which I don't know why that would be on. So maybe that's better. There's no echo cancellation. I don't know why. StreamYard, you know what I figured out too? After yesterday's stream, everyone was saying my audio was crazy. I did test it after, didn't hear anything wrong at all. So I'm thinking that it's StreamYard, which is just wonky. StreamYard is really weird. We have issues with it here and there, so it might just be StreamYard. Glad to see. Yeah, apparently that's much better. I can't explain this. I don't know, people. I'm just a simple man trying to do a post game show. Let's see here. What should we talk about? I feel like I really haven't even talked about anything, and we've been going on for 12 minutes. So if you're in here and if you're in here routinely, shout out y'all. Appreciate you guys a lot. Because I got to do these anyway, so I'm glad that there's at least people here to watch, and you guys are always super awesome in the chat. Love the interaction. Let's talk. You know what? Let's talk a little bit about Malik Monk tonight, who made his homecoming in a way back to Charlotte. He's kind of talked a lot this year, and I think I've talked on these post game streams about Malik, and it feels like he's been a lot more open. I think it's because he kind of has finally found his footing in the league, but he's been really open this year, just about his time in Charlotte and how he really didn't believe he was going to stick in the league at that point. Like Malik was this really highly touted prospect in high school. Obviously went to Kentucky, had a great season with De'Aaron, had tons of hype, got drafted in the top 10, and kind of didn't live up to the billing. Like he really was. Let me see if I can pull up his numbers here when he was in Charlotte, but he was really inefficient. Like he also got suspended for a period of time for a drug suspension. And he was kind of on his way out of the league. A lot really similar actually to the career of James Bouknight. Like James Bouknight, I look at him in Charlotte and I'm like, that's the Malik Monk story right there. So if I were a team, I would definitely, even though Bouknight did air a three today, which was crazy, he aired a wide open three. I gotta wonder if there's something wrong with that situation. Looking at Malik here, he shot 36% from the field. Let me just get his entire Charlotte career here. His Charlotte career, which was 4 seasons, he shot 40% from the field, 33 game, 17 minutes. He just never really got a footing. I think they were only semi-successful one of his years in Charlotte. With he was kind of at the tail end of the Kemba Walker era, in Charlotte. So he just never really found his footing, and then he went to LA with the Lakers, had that good season, signed with the Kings, and everybody kind of knows the rest of the story. But for him to find his footing here in Sacramento, it's been interesting as this trade season is kind of come along. There's been talks of should the Kings look to maybe put Malik into a trade. Is he part of the untouchables? And will any trade the Kings make affect the possibility of Malik re-signing in the offseason? The dude's essential, at least to this current construction of the Kings. I don't think you can make a move this season and have Malik Monk involved because of how important he is to how this Kings team functions. If you were to make a trade and let's say it's Harrison Barnes and Malik Monk for Zach LaVine straight up, I don't know. I'm just making things up. I think what would happen is this team would almost be so new, they would take some time to kind of get adjusted. And I don't know if it probably wouldn't be better off, but it would just be such a shock to the system of this team who's used to almost having Malik's energy off the bench and being able to rely on him. I just don't think it can happen. Maybe it can happen in the future after you lock down Malik and you need to make an upgrade or something, but I don't think here and now is the time. It feels like Malik needs to be here in Sacramento. It's been a really good fit. And he's also got De'Aaron Fox, who really they're obviously really close from their time at Kentucky, but I definitely think Malik kind of needs some people that he can relate with, because Malik is a little bit in danger of, if he were to be in a situation unchecked, I could see how he might step over some boundaries on the floor where he just kind of Malik is a really talented guy who can do a whole lot of everything, and we've seen guys like, I just would be afraid that Malik would almost turn into a little bit of J.R. Smith, where it's just like a lot of head-scratching decisions because he feels like he can do so much, and it could be bad if gone unchecked and if gone unchecked. And I feel like having De'Aaron out there and kind of understanding, I don't want to say a totem pole or a hierarchy, but just respecting De'Aaron as a player, I think is big for Malik to have next to him. So I think the fit is perfect. I think his role is perfect. I think he's perfect for that role. And I really can't imagine this current iteration of this Kings team without Malik. Another ridiculous game for Sabonis. He continues to put together ridiculous performances. 20 straight double-doubles for him. 7 assists after a big triple-double last night. Keegan Murray, again, after a 32-point performance, follows it up with a 25-piece. Come on. I mean, that's huge. I mean, Keegan being a consistent scorer for this team, massive. Cannot be overstated. Like, if he can be aggressive every night and not need to get hit in the mouth before he starts to get going, that's what this team needs. They need him to come out and be a hitman. Like, he needs to just be a killer. Every time Keegan Murray scores, it should hurt the other team. Because, yeah, I mean, he can give it to you at all levels. You see tonight, he was 8 of 11 on 2-point attempts, and that's become a reoccurring thing. We have talked so much throughout Keegan's career so far about him being a shooter, and for him to a shooter from the perimeter. I mean, last year pretty much it had to have been like 80% of Keegan's shots last year came from beyond the arc. The fact that he's diversifying his buckets and just kind of keeping defenders on his heels, that's the development for Keegan. And as he's only in year 2, it's only going to get better. The fact that he's already picked this up halfway through his second year, I was thinking today, just like, man, I can't wait for year 4, year 5, when it's like, okay, now all the stuff we're thinking about now is just easy for Keegan. It's just part of who he is. Now let's work on, how does Keegan make others better? How do we make Keegan into a facilitator, into a passer? How do we get Keegan involved more in the pick and roll so he can maybe get more threes or get more assists or maybe even drive more and use his nice runner? It's really exciting to watch. It's really cool to watch it in real time. I mean, how many of you out there have been watching this Kings team like I have during that 16-year playoff drought when we would see Ben McLemore, Nick Stauskas, I mean Quincy Doobie, even the good ones. I'm listing the bad ones, but like even Tyreek, the development of Tyreek Evans and how we saw him be something his rookie year, and then we never really saw him develop much else. I mean, he got better at ball handling, he got better at finishing at the rim, the things he was already good at, but we didn't see his game evolve into something else. We're seeing Keegan Murray be something his rookie year, and I think by year 4 or 5, he's going to look like a completely different player. You see, again, the defense, the ball handling. I think eventually he's going to get better at attacking the rim. I just think that the trajectory Keegan's on right now is crazy. And again, just as someone who's seen this Kings team go through so many young players throughout the years, it's just weird to see a young player actually develop and look great while doing it, and almost exceed expectations too. Like, very rarely have the Kings had rookies even meet expectations. You've almost had to reach to try and say, Ben McLemore, the shot looks good. It looks good. It's going in, like, not as much as I'd want it to, but at least it looks good on the way. Like, you're not having to convince yourself. There are very real, tangible numbers that you can track for Keegan's development. And also, I mean, just use your freaking eyes, and you can see how much better he's gotten. So, I'm just excited. I mean, even in the playoffs, I'm excited to see, because this team is a playoff team, okay? I don't care what anyone says. Forget even me, okay? I don't care if I come on here and say, this is inexcusable. Good teams don't do this. The Kings are a playoff team, okay? And I cannot wait to see what Keegan Murray does in the playoffs. We saw him last year going against the Warriors. Again, in real time, you see the difference from games 1 through 3 through the player in game 4 through 7. And I can't wait to see how Keegan evolves throughout a playoff series. I think it's going to be crazy, and hopefully he can be a big part of the Kings moving on to the second round, because that's how you also start to build some national attention as well. Nobody, and I mean nobody in the national media is talking about Keegan Murray. They'll talk about all the other guys drafted, even Paolo Banchero. Paolo Banchero does not get enough attention. Not nearly enough attention, and even he gets more attention than Keegan Murray. So, I can't wait to kind of see how Keegan develops and what it's going to look like, because I think it's going to be something crazy. Is there anything else from the game that really stuck out? The Colby Jones thing, I wouldn't read too much into it. I think it was just kind of Mike on the fly. After Herter got hurt so early, they had to go to Duarte, who I assume was going to be Kevin's backup. Excuse me. Who I assume was going to be Kevin's backup. And then so they had to move Duarte into that starting spot. And I think they just didn't want to put Keanu. I mean, I don't know. I can't explain to you why it was specifically Colby Jones. Pretty random. Again, maybe you could just throw that into the pot of, is this intentional? Is Mike Brown just flying randomly, like he's flying free? He's just doing what he wants out there, or is any of that planned? Because Colby Jones I was not expecting him to be in this game. Let's do our 3 stars of the night. First star, it's tough between Malik and De'Aaron. De'Aaron was a little bit more efficient. De'Aaron still, I still wouldn't say he looks 100%. He's starting to look a little bit more comfortable out there. I know a lot of people are speculating he's hurt. A lot of people, I guess Malik yesterday after the post game, in the post game interview with G-Man, said there's some off the floor stuff that is seeping on the floor. I don't know what that's about. I don't know what that's referring to. I don't know if he's talking about De'Aaron. But I think it's clear that De'Aaron's not necessarily at the same level that he was for really what we've seen all year. These past, I don't know, it's probably been a week and a half. Just hasn't quite looked the same. So I'm going to give Malik Monk the 1 star. Playing back in Charlotte, 7 of 7 from the free throw line, 20 points, 2 blocks, which one of them was sick on Nick Richards. That was really, really cool. 4 rebounds, 4 assists for Malik, plus 17. He was great. I mean, he finished at the rim. He was hitting down. He was hitting or hit a three. I thought he hit multiple threes. But Malik just kind of provided what he always does, and I'm glad that he had this opportunity after really struggling when the Hornets came to Sacramento. Malik got himself benched in that first half, so I'm glad he was able to have himself a night against his former team. I'm sure that one meant a lot to him. It's 2 stars. I'm gonna give to Domas because he set the bar so high after yesterday's game. When you got 24, 10, and 7, come on, bro, do better. Why'd you take the night off? Why you thought we wouldn't notice? A slump night for Sabonis. Really hope he picks it up. So we're gonna give him 2 stars instead of 3, just to try and send a message. So. Do better, Domas, please. Come on, man. 24, 10, and 7, chump stuff. 20 straight double doubles for him. Just a madman, just an absolute madman. There's nobody on these against bad teams. Sabonis is gonna do whatever he wants. Like for teams that don't have bigs, there's no way you can control him. He's too strong, too dominant, and he plays too hard every single play for you not to feel him. So, it's going to be a whole different beast on Friday when he's going against Joel Embiid. Unfortunately, that's really where he's going to be judged. That 37-point triple-double isn't going to mean a single thing if he gets 12 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists on Friday. I'm telling you, just letting you know how it is. People are going to say, oh, yeah, Sabonis can beat up on the Pistons and beat up on the Hornets, but when he plays against an MVP level talent, he can't bring it, which might be true for that night, but I'm not going to say that it's a definite. I'm not going to say it's an absolute. So we've seen Sabonis have enough good nights against Nikola Jokic and other top tier centers for us to know that that's just not true. So it'll be interesting. Friday is going to be a really, really big game for Domas. And I hope he shows up for his sake because I really hope he can at least quiet the haters. I don't think he can silence them fully until he has playoff success, but a really big night against the former MVP or last season's MVP, it'd do him some good in the PR department for sure. And I'm going to give my 3 stars of the night to Keegan Murray. 25 points. He had 32 last night. Tonight, all aggression. Didn't have to be woken up or anything. Played great defense to start the game. Hit 3 threes. He's looking great, man. And I already mentioned the 2-point stuff. He was 8 of 11 from 2. That's development in front of our eyes. And as Keegan just kind of continues to get more and more aggressive, I think this team's going to start to play more and more consistent. Because if they can rely, I mean, again, we know Sabonis is going to give 100% every single night. He's going to trick around and get 16, 12, and 6. De'Aaron Fox, more than capable. Again, even De'Aaron has a slow night. He still finishes off with 19 points. We know those two dudes are going to bring some version of a good game every single night. If we can get Keegan to constantly produce 18-plus points a night, that's how this team is consistently good, and we stop seeing these random nights where they just look terrible. It would do them a lot of wonders. As we talked about all summer long, it was what the game plan was this year was for Keegan to step up and be that third option consistently. And I think we would all say that De'Aaron Fox has been number 1. I think we could say Domantas Sabonis has been a number 2. And Malik Monk has definitely been this team's second/third option routinely every single night. And if Keegan can move into that slot and be that consistent third option, but you still have Malik as well as a consistent fourth option, and then you have guys like Trey Lyles, and then you have Kevin Huerter possibly getting out of his slump. That's where HB, I mean, anybody, HB, Harrison Barnes, are you here? Is it possible for you to contribute? Even he, it takes some of the pressure off of him, yes, but it also makes, when he does contribute, it makes it that much more impactful. So Keegan being that guy consistently and just having it be something expected. Like I think we at some point here, we do need to expect a level of consistency out of Keegan. Man, that's how this team goes to another level. And yes, Mr. Jason 916, sure, absolutely. If we can trade Kevin Herter and Keegan, not Keegan, whoa, strike that from the record. If we could trade Kevin Herter and Harrison Barnes um, for some sort of contributor that, I think those two could get you a really good player. I don't know who that player is. I don't know if that player's name is even in trade circles right now. But if you can turn those two guys into somebody else who can consistently contribute, look out. Look out, Western Conference, because if you look at the West, it's crazy. If I saw yesterday, every single team, starting with number one, the Timberwolves had 10 losses. Number two had 11 losses. Number three had 12 losses, and so on and so forth, all the way to the 10 seed West. So this thing is literally being decided by the day. Like if the Kings go on a nice little, yep, and I'm looking at it now. Number one, Timberwolves have 10 losses. Let me see if I can. Let's get a little fancy here and let's share the screen. This could be where everything, this entire stream, goes wrong. Here we go. Here we go. We on it. We on it. Here we go. So as you can see here, Timberwolves 10 losses, OKC 11, Denver 12, Clippers 13, Kings 14, Pelicans 15, Mavericks 16, Houston 17, Phoenix 18, Lakers 19, Utah 20. And then even Golden State has 19. So this ladder can move daily, weekly if you check it. This team could end up at 7. There's so much movement that can happen, and that's why, it's why it was so important for this Kings team to take advantage of this easy stretch of games, which maybe I can look back here. I don't quite remember all these games on this trip, but for the most part, the Kings it hasn't looked super pretty, but the Kings have, for the most part, taken care of this weak stretch. But, with a tougher stretch of opponents coming up, man, Kings need to make sure that they're bringing it because, again, these things move really, really quickly. And, you've got the Sixers, you've got the Bucks, you've got the Suns. The Pacers are a little bit down, and then you have the Hawks as well. But then you hit the road for a very long road trip against the Warriors, the Mavericks, the Grizzlies, the Heat, the Pacers, Bulls, and Cavs. It's not, there's a couple games that have gotten easier, whether it be the Grizzlies because Ja's now out, or they have 2 games against the Pacers in that stretch, which who knows if Tyrese will be available for that February 2nd game in Indiana. But it's getting harder. The stretch of games is getting harder here. So I guess, let me see here. Looking back, I guess you can say the stretch of easy opponents does end. And let's see here. You have a loss. Let me count this out here. You have 3 losses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 wins, 3 losses. So, 6-3 in that 9-game stretch against easy opponents, I guess, is fine. It's not the best record, obviously. You'd kind of want them to, 7-2 sounds a lot better. I'm trying to see if I have a graphic of that easy opponent. So yeah, it was Portland, Atlanta, Memphis, Charlotte, Orlando, Toronto, New Orleans, Detroit, and Charlotte. The Kings did go 6-3 during that stretch, and those opponents had a .360 win percentage. So, again, you probably could have gone 7-2, but to go 6-3 isn't the worst. But that's also why the Kings kind of find themselves in that 5th seed and not at a 3 or a 2 seed. I think that's going to be it. That felt like a solid show to me. I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to get on out of here. It's around dinner time. It's kind of nice to have these earlier games because, we can end and have it not be the end of the night. So I'm gonna dip on out of here. Appreciate you all for hopping in. I know it's been a little chaotic here, but I'm gonna try and get all these issues figured out. I will see y'all on Friday after that Sixers game on national TV. Be careful, look out as Joel Embiid and Domantas Sabonis go head to head. Cannot wait. That one's again ESPN. It starts at 4:30, so we'll probably be on here around 6:30 or probably closer to 7 because of the national TV timeouts. Y'all have a fantastic night. Appreciate you all. Light the beam and let's go look at it.